The new Premier League season is well underway, and already we're thinking about transfers. Game week 2 just a few days away, and Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid is back. In today's video, we're going to look at the best players to buy, sell, keep, and avoid for your FPL teams going into Game Week 2. And all of the stats provided in today's video are from Fantasy Football Hub's amazing Opta Stats tool. If you want to check this tool out for yourself and gain access to the stats from every single player in the entire Premier League, not just for this season, but for previous historic seasons as well, you can check out the link using the description link and get full access right away. So click the link down there if you want to see more stats from more players. And if you're new to Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, this is how it works. The first part of the video is going to be about those players you already have in your FPL team and which ones you should keep and which ones you should sell. Part 2 of the video is about those players you should replace them with, which players you should buy, and which players you may need to avoid. Yes, guys, welcome back to FPL Mate. Hope you guys enjoyed a solid start to the season. We're going to go through position by position, starting off with the forwards and which ones you should keep in your team and which ones you should maybe think about binning off, removing immediately. So let's start off right here at those keeps. And certainly there's a few players I would definitely be looking to keep for Game Week 1. And the first player is going to be Ollie Watkins. Obviously, he endured a pretty difficult opening game to the season with just one shot on target against Newcastle. Pretty disappointing stuff, but he's got some great fixtures coming up, including a Brentford team that just shipped 3 goals to Nottingham Forest. They look like they could be in a bit of trouble to start off the season, so I definitely don't think it is time to remove the likes of Ollie Watkins just yet. Next up, we got Joao Pedro, another player who may be disappointed a little bit, but again, still plenty of good stuff to come from the Chelsea boys. They have West Ham next, another team that really struggled in Game Week 1 with 3 goals conceded to Sunderland. So actually, these top 2 players, although it looks like, you know, these players disappointed in Game Week 1, their Game Week 2 fixtures look a much easier for them. So therefore, we will probably be looking to keep them in our teams. And finally, in the keep section, we've got Mateta, another player who maybe had a difficult fixture opening to Chelsea. Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa are not ideal fixtures for him necessarily, but actually Forest I think is a fixture that suits Mateta. Plus he is going to be on penalties as well, and good fixtures are on the horizon for him. Now for some players to monitor, and we're going to put Solanke in here. Obviously he didn't start the opening game for Spurs, maybe still carrying a little bit of an injury issue at the moment, and Richarlison played well, scored 2 goals, which does raise some concerns. However, I do still think we should be open to keeping Solanke if you do have him in your team. I don't think he needs to be rushed out. However, the monitor section is all about those players that maybe if you have a replacement that you really want, maybe you could sell some of these monitor players if you really are passionate about the player you are going to buy. So maybe Solanke could be removed, but I think we need to monitor him throughout the week to see if it's likely he's going to start in next game week, because Spurs still have some really nice fixtures to come in the not so distant future after Man City in particular. Mark Yu, I think at 4.5 million, we don't need to rush him out of our squads necessarily. I don't know if he's going to start against Burnley. I would say probably not, to be honest, but as soon as he gets his fitness levels up, we might see him getting a little bit more game time. So for a 4.5 million forward, probably not worth the switch right now, but one to monitor. And then we've got these West Ham boys. Now, after their disappointment in Game Week 1 against Sunderland, Sunderland? Yeah, that's exactly right. It's kind of difficult to really say whether we should be keeping them or not, because the fixtures after this, you know, Chelsea, Forest, Spurs, Crystal Palace, I don't think there's any good fixture here really for these guys. And Fulcrook in particular had a pretty weak game actually. Didn't play super well in that game. Bowen a little bit better, but neither really lighting up in that opening fixture. And I think because the fixtures are a little weaker than maybe the likes of, you know, Watkins, Joao Pedro, Mateta going into the future, it could be worth having a look at some alternatives. So they're a little bit lower down on the tier list for the monitor section. Obviously, the lower we go, the more kind of inclined I would be to sell these kind of players. But I don't think they're must-sells at all. However, if you did start off the season with Wissa or Isak, you missed the news that they would not be starting in Game Week 1, then yeah, maybe it is time to just remove these players, because it is a lot of money to be investing in Wissa and Isak if they are not guaranteed game time, and still their future is being resolved as we look towards the end of the transfer window. So until Game Week 4, we're not really going to have much knowledge on where they're going to be, and therefore it could be just worth removing them, making sure you have those really solid forwards in your squad ready to go. And finally, Danny Welbeck on the sell area here, and didn't start the opening game. It looks like Jorginho Rutter, who is listed as a midfielder, 6 million midfielder in FPL, is actually going to be playing striker for Brighton this season. And although Welbeck could get some minutes, could get some start, I don't think I'm super confident about this one right now. And with the difficult fixtures in the next two, plus the rotation risk, he is going to be one of those priority sell players. But we're going to find some forward replacements for these guys. If you do have them in your team, don't worry about that. Into midfield, and there's certainly three players I would be very willing to keep. Well, they did disappoint in game week 1, but I think good things are on the horizon. So Cole Palmer, first of all, 4 shots, which is not too bad really, 0.21 XG in the opening fixture. But as we know, Palmer is nailed on. He's going to play every game for Chelsea. He's going to have free kick, corner share. He is going to take penalties, and we've got these really nice fixtures to come. So, you know, it's definitely not time to give up on Cole Palmer after just one game week. Bruno Fernandes is also in this kind of area here. Difficult game against Arsenal, and I think, you know, we could say the same about all of these players. Palmer played against a very, very good looking Crystal Palace team, defending brilliantly. Arsenal were defending really well. Raya had a phenomenal game for Arsenal, and Rodgers obviously playing against Newcastle. So these key players, they had tough fixtures in game week 1, but actually moving forward, you know, these are the fixtures that hopefully you bought these players in your game week 1 team in the first place. So it would be a real shame to let them go already in your squad. For monitors, and I think these players I would be slightly more willing to sell, although, you know, these are not players you have to sell or anything like that. So we've got Anderson, Wirtz, Eze, and Elanga here, which really, I don't know if I'd rush any of these players out, to be honest. Anderson did absolutely fine. He got that assist, was one defensive contribution away from getting the extra 2 points. So was Bruno, by the way. So Anderson and Bruno owners, I think you can feel a little bit unlucky not to get those extra 2 points in your team this week. But hey, this is the game. This is going to happen sometimes. Next week, you know, they came close enough that they showed promise that next week they can do a little bit better. Florian Wirtz has got some difficult fixtures in the next two, and maybe a little bit more disappointing in the attacking areas compared to, you know, Gakpo, Ekitike, Salah, who did look like the primary maybe goal scoring threats for a Liverpool team that scored 4 goals. If there is going to be a big split between who is scoring the goals for Liverpool, and Wirtz is maybe 4th on that list for goal potential, then you do have to worry about that 8.5 million price tag and whether it is worth it or not. But certainly, you know, he is not a player to rush out. Yes, the fixtures are a little tougher than the likes of Palmer, Bruno, Rodgers, but he is a quality enough player that he could definitely still provide some value to you going into the future. So one to monitor still. Eze is also on this list. Super curious as to where he is going to end up at the end of the transfer window. Does he stay at Crystal Palace? Is he going to Spurs? I guess we'll have to find out. But certainly he is pulling up his socks and he's playing every game for Crystal Palace whilst his future is secured. So good for Eze for being that real professional in that manner. And actually, Eze, a little bit unfortunate to have his free kick goal disallowed in game week 1, actually. So, you know, he did show some promise there. He had a goal disallowed. He had 6 shots in that game as well, which is you know, a very, very decent amount of shots as well. And the next 2 fixtures, not ideal, but Forest maybe is a fixture that he could do something in. We'll see what happens against Aston Villa. And then we'll see by game week 4, where is he? If he moves to Spurs, I think he could actually be a brilliant, phenomenal FPL asset. Maybe one of the top buys, actually. So let's see what happens with Eze. One to monitor for sure. And Elanga, another player to monitor. And I'm kind of on the fence on this one. 7 million doesn't seem like a great value for money for him. But actually, looking at that Newcastle side, I actually thought Elanga was one of the most threatening players in that game. And after Liverpool, the fixtures are good. And even that Liverpool game at home, Liverpool looked defensively all over the place in game week 1. We kind of talked about before game week 1 how Liverpool may take a little bit of time to adapt with their high line, and maybe they're going to look a little disorganized. We certainly saw that against Bournemouth. So you do wonder, can Elanga actually get something out of this game? I wouldn't be totally surprised by that. And the players I'd be more inclined to sell on this list is going to be the likes of Marmoush. No start in game week 1, and you would imagine that him and Reinders are going to play in similar positions. If Reinders is going to play more of an attacking midfield role, well, that's also where Marmoush plays, really, right? If Haaland's going to be on the pitch, then Marmoush is going to want to be an attacking midfielder. So whether that means Reinders is going to drop back or Marmoush is going to, you know, maybe even not play at all, is he going to remain on the bench? It's really difficult. And I think, you know, for 8.5 million, you just don't want that headache. You do not want to have to, you know, worry, is my player going to play or not? And it also should be said that Man City have played their best game in the opening 5 at least. So Man City's fixtures are a little rougher from here until around game week 6, where it does pick up again a little bit. So Marmoush, with that rotation risk, with the emergence of Reinders, you do have to worry if the 8.5 million price tag is cheap enough really to kind of allow you to play Marmoush with confidence. So I would consider selling him if I had him. Marlin, another player who I would consider selling, particularly if you can make the switch from him to Reinders. If you've done that already, amazing. But yeah, certainly, again, not starting Game Week 1. There is certainly some concerns there. Same with Jacob Murphy. No start in Game Week 1. We imagine these kind of players in the sell category are going to be real rotation risks. And I don't think anyone wants that drama in their life, do they? So not great numbers. They didn't really play many minutes, each of them. I think they are sells. Into the defender area, and Pedro Porro and Van der Ven actually started off really well this season with clean sheets for each of them in this Spurs side. But of course, the next fixture being Man City away, I think some people are a little bit worried about the Spurs defenders. But I think the problem is here that if you sell Pedro Porro and Van der Ven for Man City, you're going to want them back almost immediately again in Game Week 3. So it doesn't really seem worth selling them if these are going to be players you actually want to have from Game Week 3 onwards. So would certainly be looking to keep both of these Spurs guys. Van der Ven actually had a decent opportunity to score in that game. Pedro Porro with the creativity as well, generating 0.26 expected assists in that game. Really, really nice stuff. I think Porro is playable against Man City if you don't have any bench options. Van der Ven, however, I would be trying to bench for the game against Man City, and then he should return to your starting 11 from Game Week 3 onwards. Virgil, I'm going to say keep just because he did so well on the defensive contribution. So even with 2 goals conceded with Liverpool, even with Liverpool looking a little shaky defensively, we think they're going to get better. After Newcastle and Arsenal, these are tough fixtures, but hopefully by Game Week 4, they're going to look a lot better. And certainly if Van Dijk can pick up the defensive contribution points whilst we wait for things to improve from a clean sheet perspective, I think that's enough to tick you by throughout the next couple of game weeks, and he can still be, you know, a valuable FPL asset. Obviously, he had a little bit of threat from set pieces as well in that opening game. And we've got the monitors next, and this is going to be Frimpong and Kirkes. So keeping it Liverpool, these are players we need to keep a close eye on. Both of these players substituted before the 60-minute mark, and I do worry that this could be a regular theme. And I'm not saying it is going to happen, but we spoke about maybe some rotation risk in the Liverpool fullback area in pre-season, and that's kind of been demonstrated already. And rotation risk is not just about whether a player will start or not, but whether they will play enough minutes to really get the points that you're looking for. And unfortunately for Frimpong and Kirkes, they did not deliver at all in Game Week 1. In fact, Kirkes with a yellow card with a fat 0-pointer. I was a little bit disappointed with their attacking threat as well. Didn't really see too much of that. And defensive contributions, not looking really too good there either, to be honest. So in a game they had to do a lot of defending, they didn't actually get many defensive contributions. So I think there are definitely some concerns there. When Bradley is back, you know, maybe he plays some games instead of Frimpong. Robertson, is he going to play ahead of Kirkes occasionally? I don't know, guys. It's something to definitely be aware of, something definitely to be wary of. But that doesn't necessarily mean they are automatic sells. It's just something that we need to keep an eye on going into future game weeks, I think. And then we've got the West Ham defenders, Juve and Wan-Bissaka. And I'll certainly be more inclined to keep Juve than Wan-Bissaka right now. Even though the next fixture is against Chelsea, from a defensive point of view, the games like Forest and Crystal Palace, I don't think are actually too bad. I think these guys are playable in those fixtures, to be honest. And Juve, you know, came very close to scoring in Game Week 1. He had actually a shot cleared off the line in that game. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. So already demonstrating some attacking threat from that defensive position, which is really nice. Wan-Bissaka maybe not so much. So yeah, maybe not as confident in Wan-Bissaka, but players to monitor. West Ham came up with a very difficult start to the season, a very disappointing there. So we do have to keep an eye on these players and whether they are going to be viable going forward, but I don't think they are necessarily automatic sells yet, particularly Juve, because of that attacking potential he has already shown, not just in pre-season, but now into the actual Premier League season in Game Week 1. Konsa, I toyed with the idea of putting him in a monitor. Like, he is suspended. He's going to be suspended for Game Week 2, unfortunately. But to be honest, guys, Konsa is not an FPL asset I'm super keen on anyway, because he does do so poorly for defensive contributions, and playing at centre-back and only getting 3 defensive contributions in around just over 60 minutes he played in Game Week 1. That is really, really weak for a centre-back, really weak. So I think we're going to see throughout the season that there's not going to be too many defensive contributions. And if you were maybe planning on playing him in Game Week 2, maybe you need a player to play in Game Week 2 in your defense, it could just be a smart idea to, take this opportunity to replace Konsa and pick up a new 4.5 million defender. Of course, we are going to be talking about more defenders you can pick up in the second part of this video, which is coming up very, very, very soon. But we'll have to look at these other sells. Gvardiol, with his potential injury, 6 million is just too much money to be spending on a defender if you're not sure if they are available or not, and the fixtures coming up for Man City are not particularly good. So if you do have Gvardiol in your team, it might be an idea to remove him, try and replace him with someone else instead. Again, we're going to have some nice defender suggestions that are around 6 million as well. And finally, Alex Moreno, if you do have him in your team for 4 million, I think there are definitely some better options to go for, given that Alex Moreno is just not going to play any football. So yeah, if you need that backup, you need a player to come in and play Game Week 2, but Alex Moreno is kind of on your bench maybe right now. Maybe you've got a Konsa suspension as well. Alex Moreno could make waves for one of the other cheap 4 million defenders and, give you an opportunity to get a new player in. And, yeah, have someone who will actually play, which is always useful in the game of FPL, isn't it? And guys, if you are welcoming the new season of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, please do drop a like on the video. Can we shoot for 2,000 likes? That would be absolutely amazing if you guys can make that happen. Love, love, love. But also subscribe. If you like this kind of content, you want to see the stats, you want to see the numbers, you want to see the tier lists all wrapped up in one video every Monday, make sure you stick around. Okay, let's get to the buy section. And who are those forwards I am targeting this week? Who would I want in my team? Well, certainly Ollie Watkins. I know he was disappointing in Game Week 1, but the preseason and also his last 3 seasons certainly give me enough confidence that in better fixtures, he will perform better. So no qualms about Watkins. If you don't have him in your team, I would consider buying him right now. And of course, guys, in the buy section, I'm not saying you need to buy every single player who is in each of the categories for buy. That would just be, that would be 9 transfers, which is just crazy. 11 transfers if you're including goalkeepers. These are just suggestions of players that might work for your team, you might be interested in. So definitely players I would be open to buying for sure. And Watkins is definitely on that list for sure. Chris Wood is another player who we haven't spoken about yet in this video. 7.5 million. And yes, once again, he has done it. 0.95 XG and 2 goals. He continues his trends of massively overperforming, and I think at a certain point we just have to accept that this guy is such a good finisher. He is like Lionel Messi in a big New Zealandy man's body somehow, with the finishing ability he has. Crystal Palace away is not an amazing fixture, but Nottingham Forest off to a really good start. I think they look brilliant against Brentford, to be honest. So I think you can definitely consider bringing Wood into your team this week if you're looking for a new 7.5 million forward. But, if you are thinking about selling the likes of Joao Pedro for Wood, I would maybe just think about it a little bit, have a little bit of patience. I never want to tell you guys what to do or anything like that on this channel, but I think there are certain forwards in the 7.5 region that actually could do just as well as Wood, if not better, in Game Week 2. So maybe a little bit of patience on some of those transfers, but at the same time, if you've got some of those other 7.5 maybe that you're not super keen on, maybe you're really worried about Solanke or he's confirmed to not start in Game Week 2, then, a switch to Chris Wood could be pretty sensible, because there's still some good fixtures to come for Nottingham Forest coming up next. And Victor Gyökeres, I've put in here as maybe kind of an upside chasing kind of transfer here. So we've got Leeds United at home. It's obviously a really good fixture. And I think looking at the fixtures in Game Week 2, Arsenal versus Leeds is maybe an opportunity to get some big points. That seems to be one of the areas where we could see some bigger points. Arsenal, pretty disappointing in attack in Game Week 1. It seems like they scored the goal and the rest of the game was just defending. No surprise there. But against Leeds United, maybe a more favourable fixture. We could see a slightly more open Arsenal creating more. And I think this kind of suits Gyökeres as a fixture a little bit as well, with his physicality and how we expect Leeds to probably play against Arsenal. Joao Pedro, if you don't have him already, I would actually say is still a player to monitor. I don't think he's an automatic buy, because there are still some concerns around minutes. Of course, he didn't play the full 90, playing around 70 minutes is, it's decent. But, you know, there is enough there to maybe suggest, okay, we see a world in which he maybe doesn't start one game. So maybe some concerns there, but the next 3 fixtures are really nice for him. So definitely still a player to consider to buy. Haaland obviously did brilliantly. And, you know, this is a big thing that we need to kind of reiterate in the buy, sell, keep, avoid videos. Just because a player is in monitor, it doesn't mean they're a bad player or a bad pick. You know, it's the same in the avoid section, really. Just because a player is an avoid, it doesn't mean they're a sell. Haaland is obviously a brilliant FPL asset, but if you are bringing in Haaland into your team, and it could go very well, don't get me wrong, it could go very well, which is why he's not in a void, you're going to have to make 2 transfers minimum. So you're going to have to take a -4 in game week 2 just to get Haaland in your team. And that's probably going to involve selling the likes of Salah and Palmer and Bruno and Wirtz, multiple of these players to get Haaland into your team. And that, to me, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. So, yes, it could work out well. Yes, it could go well. But I don't know if it's a decision I'd be rushing into. So it's for me, it's with Haaland, it's about the price, 14 million. It's a lot of money to be spending. It's a lot of restructuring in your team. To rip apart your team to bring in Haaland is something that you could consider doing, but it's not something you have to do at all. So that's why Haaland is not in buy for me, despite a fantastic start. I mean, 6 shots, all in the box, 3 big chances, over 2 XG with the 2 goals. This is really good stuff. Really, really good stuff for Haaland. But if you don't have him already, and remember, this is the buy avoid section of the video. So this is about players you don't have in your team. Do you need to buy Haaland? Can you make do with what you've already got? Maybe. Evan Nilsson, I think, a player to monitor. He's got some good fixtures coming up now, having Liverpool out the way now. 3 shots in the opening game, not too bad. So maybe we could see a little improvement to that when we come to the likes of Wolves, Spurs and Brighton in the next 3. And Ekitike is going to be a player to monitor. I know this is going to be controversial because he looked phenomenal in game week 1. And I really do rate Ekitike. But the problem is, we're looking at a situation where Isak is becoming ever more likely to sign for Liverpool. If that happens by game week 4, then we could see Ekitike, you know, playing away against Newcastle, tough game, home against Arsenal, tough game. And then we get to game week 4 where Ekitike suddenly has a really nice fixture. And maybe now Isak is at Liverpool and suddenly Ekitike is either, you know, maybe not playing as a striker or, you know, playing alongside Isak, and now even more of the goal share will be reduced. Maybe he's on the bench. He's one to monitor. Ekitike for sure. If we get to game week 4 and Isak has not signed for Liverpool, I will be buying Ekitike. I'm telling you right now, he will be in my team. So again, guys, this is not about his quality, his ability of the player, but it's something we need to monitor with tough fixtures and, you know, this impending Isak, which worries me a little bit, which is why Ekitike is in the monitor section and not any higher. But, of course, if you really want him, hey, don't let me stop you. Don't let me stop you. He looks brilliant. And, you know, maybe he can do enough damage in the 2 game weeks that is worthwhile. But looking at the fixtures, I'm not super convinced by that. I think Sesko is going to be an avoid. He's only spent 1 week at Manchester United. So until he's got his first start for the club, I think it's really difficult to really make a judgment on him. So maybe wait until Fulham away is out of the way. Then we're going to have Burnley at home after that. So maybe that's going to be your opportunity to kind of assess how good you think Sesko is. Is he worth bringing in for game week 3? But for now, I think probably an avoid until he gets his first start. I put Mayenda in the avoid section as well. He did score in game week 1, so brilliant start for him. But I think the forward situation is still maybe a little bit up in the air for Sunderland. We saw Mayenda start the game as striker. We saw Isidore come in and score a goal. We've got Mark Q, of course, is going to come in at some point as well. So until we know who's going to be the main starting striker for Sunderland, I think we maybe need to, you know, have a little bit of caution around Mayenda, despite a nice fixture up next. And Richarlison, until we figure out, you know, when Solanke's coming back, if Solanke's going to come back, maybe not worth it. Man City away, is that the moment to buy Richarlison if you think maybe by game week 3, he's not even starting anymore? Yeah, going to be an avoid for me. All right, midfielders. And the 2 players at the top of this list I really like. Reinders, let's be totally honest here, guys. Reinders had a brilliant start to the season. He looks brilliant on the game, in the game, playing football for Manchester City. He really, really does. Phenomenal. His underlying numbers weren't great in game week 1, and he was probably one of the biggest overperformers in game week 1. Is it sustainable? I don't know yet. Are these numbers brilliant? No, they're not. But what they are is incredible for a 5.6 million midfielder. If he is going to be this good, if he is going to be taking shots, if he is going to be involved, and if he is going to be playing in an advanced position, this price for a starting Man City midfielder, 8, 10, whatever you want to call him, is a really, really good value for money, bit of business here. So yes, in many ways, we probably do need to manage our expectations for Reinders going into future game weeks and kind of acknowledge that there is always going to be some rotation risk. We've got Cherky, who's going to want to play in similar positions, likely Marmoush and Bernardo and Gundogan if he comes back into the starting 11. So there is still Foden, of course, as well, who could see a return in the near future. So there is still some rotation risk for Reinders, but because he looks so good on the football pitch, and he's never going to be safe from Pep Roulette, no matter how well he plays. Pep is a dangerous man. It's just the price tag, man. It is so good for what he provides. Like, this is not amazing underlying numbers, but you cannot expect amazing underlying numbers for a 5.5 million, well, 5.6 now million midfielder. So, if you're looking for a new midfielder and you want to go cheap, he's got to be on your list. He absolutely has to be on your list. But I would say try and manage your expectations too much. You're not going to be a goal and an assist every game, or at least I don't think. I guess we'll see. Semenyo is another player really impressed me, and he's actually a player I was super keen on prior to Game Week 1. I didn't quite have the guts to go for him in Game Week 1. Maybe some of you guys did, but, I think now that Liverpool fixture is out the way, these fixtures are good. The Bournemouth fixtures are really nice. Semenyo, really impressive. The underlying numbers are, I think, a little bit better here as well, with 3 shots, 2 big chances as well, which is quite nice. 0.91 XG, pretty decent. And Wolves, of course, maybe look like they're going to be in a bit of trouble this season as well. Maybe that's premature to judge them on the Man City game, but, I don't think our hopes are super high of Wolves generally this season. We've got Saka here as well. And again, similar to Gyökeres, this is kind of just targeting the fixture, maybe targeting captaincy with this one if you want to go this way. But certainly Reinders and Semenyo are my top 2 buys in the midfield position for this week. And Saka has got to be in the conversation if you're looking to find that captain for Game Week 2, because you want to chase that, the highest possible score of the game week possible. Yeah, I'll reiterate that. Palmer one to monitor if you haven't got him already. I think Kudus as well, one to monitor. I think particularly with Kudus, it's a Man City away game, which is not ideal. I thought Kudus was brilliant in Game Week 1, I have to say. But, if Spurs are looking to sign more players, looking at Savinho, looking at Eze as well, is that going to damage Kudus' minutes a little bit? So I don't know. If they signed both somehow, I'd be a little more worried about Kudus. If they only signed one of them, well, maybe we have this information by Game Week 3, and at that point is maybe the better point to jump on him after the City game. But Kudus, I'm certainly monitoring. He is a player who looks like he's had a really nice start to the Premier League. We've got Bruno and Mbeumo here. I don't know if I'd rush to buy these players, but Bruno showed a lot of promise with his creativity. 5 key passes alongside Kudus. This is the most key passes of any player in the Premier League in Game Week 1. No one beat 5. So that's a lot of chances created. But it's the defcons, the defensive contributions for Bruno getting so close in Game Week 1. Maybe he can get it over the line in Game Week 2. And Brian Mbeumo, and really Mbeumo and Cunha, both of these guys I thought looked really promising in Game Week 1, actually. So definitely, these Manchester United midfielders, I think we've got to have a close look at them. So far, I'm impressed with Manchester United. I know they didn't get the points, but I think they were, quite unlucky, actually. 5 shots, by the way, for Mbeumo with 0.43 XG. So perhaps a little unlucky maybe not to get anything out of that game as well. Avoid Gakpo, I think, because of the Isak situation and maybe the fixture situation. I wonder if Liverpool may change their formation a little bit going into these next 2 fixtures, which may reduce Gakpo's minutes. And Salah is similar to Haaland. And again, I really hope people listen to the audio in these videos, because if you're buying Salah, it means you're ripping up your entire team for a player who's about to play Newcastle away and Arsenal at home. Is it worth it? Is it really worth it? For me, it's not. I say this as a Salah owner. Good chance I captain Salah against Newcastle as well. He's a brilliant FPL asset, but this is about whether you should buy a player or not. I'm not convinced you should buy Salah this week. And we've got Cherky here as well. Given the rotation risk, didn't start Game Week 1. Yes, he got the goal, but yeah, don't think he's a buy. For defenders, really nice start for Ait Nouri, who without Gvardiol should be good for minutes going forward. Really surprised to see 15 defensive contributions for him as well. Lovely stuff. Cucurella has got some brilliant fixtures coming up. So, he's another player who, could be pretty nice. Maybe getting up the pitch, maybe getting some attacking returns. Nice to see some bonus points for him too. And Matty Cash is maybe the 4.5 million Aston Villa defender to get. Didn't really create too much in the opening game, but the fixtures are really nice for him. So a possibility to go for him. You're not going to get defensive contributions, but we do generally see as Cash as a player with some attacking threat there. Tosin is a player I really like. If he starts in Game Week 2, if he's available, and I think he could be available for Game Week 2, you know, these fixtures are really nice for him. 4.5 million Chelsea defender, and I think with Colwill out, Tosin should be reasonably nailed for minutes, judging by comments from Maresca. He's just got to get fit first, and if he's available, then for 4.5 million, he'd probably be my number one 4.5 million defender to buy this week, but you know, because of that potential injury, we don't know if he's going to be available or not. He's just going to have to be one to monitor. Gabriel, you could monitor as well, potentially there with a fixture up next against Leeds United, but pretty weak in terms of defensive contributions, at least for a centre-back and for the amount of defending he did in that game, or the team did that game. And we've got Liverpool and Man City in the next 4 as well, so tough there. Similar to Calafiori, except with Calafiori, I'm worried about minutes, to be honest. Lewis Skelly and Calafiori probably going to rotate at left-back. Same with Ben White and Jurrien Timber at right-back. Therefore, the Arsenal fullbacks are going to be pretty low in the monitor. And wedged between them is Pedro Porro. I am really genuinely impressed with Pedro Porro so far. I'm excited about this FPL pick for 5.5 million. I think he can match a lot of the 6 million guys, but given the fixture is Man City next, maybe one more week before going for him. And avoid Lewis rotation risk. We've all been there before with Rico Lewis in previous seasons. He has been a rotation disaster kind of player, although great start to the season for him. Van de Ven, don't think you're going to buy ahead of Man City. And Ballard, the top scoring player before Game Week 1, absolutely incredible stuff. But I'm not spending 4.5 million on a Sunderland defender just because he scored a freak goal. It happens every season. The first defender to score a goal and keep a clean sheet in the opening game of the season, everyone buys them, and then they don't score another goal or keep a clean sheet for the next 10 game weeks. It happens every season, guys. I'm not falling into this trap, and hopefully neither are you guys. And a quick look at goalkeepers. I mean, look, I generally don't recommend goalkeeper transfers like ever, but maybe there's some unique scenarios where you guys need to make a goalkeeper transfer. I'm not here to judge. In terms of those keeps, Sells and Kelleher will definitely be keeping them despite blanks in Game Week 1. If you're looking to free up some money for other moves, I would maybe consider selling Alisson, possibly. And we've got Areola here, not expected to start anymore for West Ham. Super rotation risk. He would be a pretty straightforward sell. In terms of these other players here, we've got Raya and Dubravka. These are probably the goalkeepers I'd most look at buying right now. If I was looking for a new goalkeeper, we'd maybe throw Sanchez of Chelsea fame in there as well as a potential buy. Raya because, you know, just a brilliant start to the season for him, and Dubravka because he is cheap and he's starting straight away for Burnley. Amazing for 4 million. I would not be looking to buy Ruffs again. Are we spending 4.5 million on Sunderland defensive assets when there are 4 million players available? Probably not. And Trafford, Ederson was out Game Week 1 because of some stomach issues. But if Ederson is back for Game Week 2, that's going to put Trafford back on the bench. Trafford, you know, has been brought into the club to be a backup goalkeeper. But hey, there is potential for Ederson to leave. But then it's like, does Donnarumma sign if Ederson leaves, or is it going to be Trafford? Again, I think we need to kind of just wait and see on a player like Trafford, which is why he is in the avoid section. He could be big trouble. But those are all of the players we need to talk about today, guys. If I missed anyone out, I'm sure I did. Let me know in the comment section, and we will give them a rating. Are they a buy, a sell, a keep, or an avoid? Make sure you drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here, and check out Fantasy Football Hub using the link in the description to get full access to all those Optus stats, guys. You will not regret it. But until tomorrow's video, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.